Folks, it's Monday, which means it's time for a brand new live episode of Monday Night Nerd. Welcome, one and all, to Monday Night Nerd. My name is Myers Corp Cosplay, and we are here tonight on this really wet talk all about my behind the scenes first time. And I know some people know I volunteer, but officially a lead staff member of Hamilton Comic Con. It was a lot of fun, and we're going to talk all about that in a little bit because we have a whole bunch of nerdy news to talk about. So before we get into that, we're going to talk about the nerdy news. Hope you all are having a great week. Like I said, it is a little cold, wet, and damp out there. Fall season is upon us, and it always seems like that weekend of Fan Expo is the last blazing hot weekend in this area, and then after it's over, it is cold, it is wet, it is gross, and we are hitting that season right now. This is supposed to be a really gross week, and I'm not thrilled about it because my dog does not like the rain and does not like thunderstorms, but I got a feeling we got a few coming up this week. But it happens. Let's hop into news because, like I said, we got a lot of things to talk about. Not a lot of stuff, but the stuff we were talking about is going to have a bunch of details that I want to get into. Let's talk about lanterns. I don't feel like we've talked a ton about it since it first got announced. If you don't know, if you're not a DC Comics fan, we're getting a Green Lantern show. We're getting a Lanterns show. It is officially called Lanterns. And there has been a couple little photos put out, nothing too crazy, but the big thing that came out over the couple weeks ago, I believe, the director was talking about that this is not going to be lanterns. Green Lantern, for those who don't know, big comic book, space, aliens, that type of stuff. This is going to be set as a HBO timeless crime thriller anthology, is what he used. A true detective style show. I believe it's set in the Midwest. The two lanterns that they have shown is there will be Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart. Boomster Joe in chat says live actors. Yes, this will be live action. There's one photo out of Hal and Jon Stewart walking down a road. They both have the rings on, but they're not in costume. They're just in their street clothes. I'm interested in this. I think it's a great thing, and I think Andre just kind of brought up part of it in chat. Got to keep that budget down. I feel like that is one of the biggest problems with the Green Lantern movie, besides the stuff that everyone talks about, is that it is basically it is a sci-fi space opera of many different characters and many different things, and trying to get an audience who doesn't already have a background in that character and trying to explain the Green Lantern Corps, what they stand for, what their history is, why they're, fighting other lanterns, why they're fighting other creatures. Are they kind of like space police, but some have a little more leeway than others? It's a lot to dictate to an audience, and I feel like that was one of the biggest problems with the first movie, or with the movie, was it was just a lot of digestion for audiences who don't already know. So setting this in the US, setting it on Earth, and just kind of doing it like a crime thriller is an interesting point of view, especially in the different ways you could go if you are a Lantern fan. Obviously, if you don't know, Hal Jordan, the most well-known Green Lantern, gets his ring after his spacecraft crashes onto Earth with Abin Sur in it, one of the Green Lanterns. He passes away, and the ring goes to Hal. So you could play into that. They haven't talked about what the storyline is or where they're going to go with it, but one of the actors, Garrett Dillahunt, who has been cast in the show, they haven't said who he's playing, but a few weeks ago did post on his Instagram, posted a story of himself, actor Ulrich Thompson and Paul Ben Victor, who you may know from The Wire. He posted all 3 of their headshots, and then underneath each one put a lantern character in there. Dillahunt put under him Black Hand. Thompson had Sinestro under him, and Ben Vicker had Atrocitus. If you are a Lantern fan, you know that Sinestro, Atrocitus, and Black Hand are 3 of the big villains in the series. Now, do I feel like they are going to just throw 3 of Green Lantern's biggest villains into the series right off the bat? No. But I do feel like they may build some groundwork in this first season. Sinestro is a former Green Lantern, takes over and builds his own corps, the Yellow Lantern Corps. Also, another thing that you'd have to explain to the audience is that there are various colors of lanterns. Atrocitus is the Red Lantern, the Lantern of Rage. So he has a backstory of his family dying, and that's a whole nother backstory you'd have to explain. And the Black Hand has actually been a villain of Green Lantern since, I think, the 70s. And it wasn't till the famous Blackest Night series that he becomes the Black Hand, the wielder of the Black Lantern ring, and brings a lot of the past heroes and villains that have been deceased back to life, all with their all in their zombified forms with their Black Lantern rings. So you could put groundworks into all of these characters and just give them a little bit of a cameo or, little mentions here and there. And it makes sense because something I think that a lot of people are not talking about is the show title is Lanterns, not Green Lantern. And as soon as I saw the title, I was like, okay, we're not using the term green, and there's an S at the end, which means we are going to be bringing in some mention of the other colors, which is great for me because I am such a big Lantern fan. But it does concern me a little bit that based off what James Gunn has done, and James Gunn is not directing this, but he does have his footprint in it because he is leading the DCEU right now. In Superman, he did put a lot of side characters into it. We did have Guy Gardner, who is a Green Lantern and is going to be in this show. You had Hawkgirl, you had Metamorpho, you had a lot of side characters, and they were kind of just thrown at you. I loved it because I'm a comic book fan. I knew we're just going to make this work, but kind of putting it all into a show, I'm a little concerned about it. But I'm going to watch it as best I can. I love it. I love that I'm finally getting a Green Lantern series after so many years of the Ryan Reynolds movie. I'm so glad Guy Gardner's in Superman. He is going to fit very well into the Lantern show. So just catching that title and what was shown in the Instagram post and what the director has talked about is intriguing me. Another show that's being brought to life from a very, very, very popular video game franchise that I'm a huge fan of, God of War. Now, God of War is like one of my favorite series ever. Boomster Joe in chat says, did you say HBO? Yes, HBO, Lanterns will be on HBO. I'm a huge God of War fan. I always tell everybody that the last time I was in school and I did an all-nighter and took the next day off because I just did not sleep because I was playing this game too much was the first time I played God of War. I just could not put that controller down. So I've been a big fan from game one. I've played every single one now up until the latest one with the newer world of the God of War. Something that I think a lot of people, some people saw, but I don't think a lot of people are talking about is Ronald D. Moore, who is now the director and the showrunner of the God of War show, was talking about it being on Amazon. He's really excited. However, the tone of the show is trying to emulate the tone of the game, was his quote. However, while that may be very nice to hear for God of War fans, something that he mentioned many moons ago, and I believe I mentioned on the podcast, but I want to bring it up again, Ronald D. Moore has also come out and said that he is not a gamer. He has not played God of War. Any of them. Especially the new ones. He specifically said that he has tried to play at the time, not Valhalla, the one before it, the newest, the remake of God of War, or the PS4 one, he did not enjoy it. He could not figure out the controls. Now, as a video game fan, that does put a little bit of concern. Is there ways that he can figure out the storyline and is not going to go into this completely blind and rewrite everything? Yes. There is this weird platform that we're kind of on right now called YouTube that has ways of watching people play the game and show what the story is. You have videos all over this channel of just people taking the cutscenes and putting them all together, and you can watch that. Or you can watch actual playthroughs of people playing the game on here or on Twitch or on any other service. However, while that is an option, I do kind of feel it's like I want to build a roller coaster, but the only way I'm building this roller coaster is by watching POV videos on YouTube and going, people really screamed a lot when this moment happened, so I'm going to put that in my new roller coaster. Not the best way to do it, in my opinion. It's Crystal says in chat, are they bringing in anyone who wrote or created the game like Fallout? They have not said anything about that, as far as I know. I've checked a couple articles. I've not seen anything about them saying they're going to bring cast and crew from the original games, or the new games, I should say, and bringing them onto the show. I know the gentleman who voices Kratos in the new games has put out the thought of, I would love to play Kratos in the live action. I don't know if he is the right type for it, but you never know. It's interesting. I know Hollywood is very cool with doing this. I believe the Borderlands movies was very similar. I know it's a bad example because it's a horrible movie, but I know Hollywood is pretty good with, as long as they get the gist of it, they kind of figure it out. It's like, yeah, but especially with a game like God of War, where you really need to understand the relationship, which is kind of the overarching story of these new God of War games, of Kratos being a father, not having a wife, not having a mother to Atreus, and trying to understand the relationship he's supposed to have with him. Kratos has had such a history of being just a no BS gruff person, and now he has to figure out a way to show sympathy to Atreus. That's a big thing, and I don't know, unless you're playing it, having that emotional feeling and understanding of how important that relationship is, and the little nuances of things they say in little side missions and stuff. Is it possible this is going to be great? 100%. 100%. Does every property that's a comic book, video game adaptation into TV and movie, is it run by the same people who did the games and everything else? No. They've done it before. They can do it again. It's just kind of crazy that a person who's running the show or directing the show just flat out comes out and says, I don't know really a lot about this. I'm not really a gamer. That's just, as Boomster Joe said a few minutes ago, that's a red flag. Like, that's the first sign of, uh-oh. So, I'm not terribly worried because they pulled it off before, but it's just another, come on. Can we just have you guys, if you don't have a positive outlook on the game, shut up about it. Or, here's a thought, lie. Just lie. You guys are good at doing that sometimes. Just be like, I'll play the games. I don't remember a ton about it right now while you got me here at the Q&A, but hey, I enjoyed it. That's all we need. No interviewer is going to be there and be like, what did you enjoy so much about the relationship between Kratos? And no one's going to ask that. Just lie and BS and be like, yeah, it was a good game. Period. Done. People. Anyways, I'm continuing with Hollywood and just people in power doing stupid stuff. Borderlands 4. I've heard nothing but great things about this game. I am a big Borderlands fan. I will be getting this game at some point. I have a plethora of games to play through right now, so I will not be picking up anytime soon. I liked Borderlands 3. Borderlands 3 was a day one purchase, but I do not like it as much as 2. but I've heard 4 is incredible. So, good for them. However, if you're a gamer and you're a fan of the Borderlands franchise, you are aware that Randy Pitchford, who is the Gearbox CEO, does not know when to shut up. Randy Pitchford, since the Borderlands release, has been all over social media replying to people, especially on X, about their complaints about Borderlands 4, specifically the PC port of it. As with most of these games, they are pretty much, specifically PlayStation, they're built for the PlayStation, and then they kind of modify things to make things work for the PC version. And that doesn't always work properly because PC has a whole bunch of different stuff that PlayStation doesn't. So there's usually problems and usually a whole bunch of patches as soon as the game comes out. Well, there are some that took a little while longer, and fans had a problem with that. They have every right to say that because games are now almost $100. But Randy Pitchford just loves going on social media and complaining and calling people out on it's really hard to build these games. You shouldn't be complaining online about these games. If you don't like it so much, just ask for a refund. If you're a CEO, and I know no CEOs are watching this show, but just to make me sleep better at night, if you're a CEO, shut up. Like, stop going on social media. Stop commenting, please. You want to look at stuff, be my guest. Don't reply to comments. It just makes you look like an idiot. And it doesn't make anyone feel good doing that. So I've kind of laid off the Borderlands stuff recently just because I don't want anything spoiled, but I keep seeing articles popping up of Randy Pitchford just won't shut up. I don't know why. They just love doing that. Andre in chat says, damn, a good crowd tonight. I agree. I greatly appreciate everybody coming on tonight, from Boomster Joe to you to Nerdy Crystal to the sponsor. Keith is here. Marcy, Ickery. I love all you guys. I greatly thank you for tuning in tonight. You all probably want to hear me rip Hamilton Comic Con a new one, and I totally understand why. One little bit of news before we jump into the main event, folks. Robert Redford, let's do a quick talk about this. When I first started the show, I used to have a segment called Thank You for the Memories, where we would talk about people in nerd culture who have passed away. We stopped doing it. We stopped doing it because it was just such a downer. But if we do have one that comes up, we do want to talk about it a little bit. And Robert Redford was an incredible actor. For the nerds out there, you probably will know him as Alexander Pierce from The Winter Soldier, but if you're a movie fan, you know him from so much else. The Sting, All the President's Men, just 2 examples of his illustrious Hollywood career, and something that I think is, everyone since his passing has been talking about his incredible career in movies, but they have not done enough, and I'm going to make sure to talk about it tonight. What he has done since his amazing career, and people don't realize, is he was a co-founder of the Sundance Film Festival in 1978. And since that time, hundreds, if not thousands, of movies have been green-lighted and shown to the world thanks to that festival. So not only did Robert Redford have an incredible acting career and directing career, but he also took all that fame and all that wealth and all that love for the industry and gave it to the next generation by creating the Sundance Film Festival, which I would say is the most well-known film festival in the world. And people line up for years to try and get in that film festival. So, Robert Redford, you were amazing as an actor. You did so much for the industry, and it is sad to see you go, but your legacy will live on for decades. So, thank you for the memories. Folks, that is it for the news. Let's jump into the sponsor, and then we're going to jump into the main event. If you're still here, if you can hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and all those things that make this channel work. I greatly appreciate all you folks tuning in on TikTok as well. If you want to join the conversation on TikTok, you should hop over to YouTube, Corp Cosplay, and that is where I'll be answering my questions. Like I said, we got a whole bunch of cool people in the chat tonight. Sponsor, as always, we are 117 episodes in, and the sponsor is the same as always because she is the best sponsor. The sponsor of the podcast is my beautiful, loving, amazing, incredible wife. She will always be the sponsor. She makes me a better person. She allows me the strength, the motivation to cosplay, to do this, to just be a better person. And I would not be that person without her in my life. So, hun, you will always be my sponsor. I love you. It is time, folks, for the main event. Folks, if you are tuning into this and you are not live on the channel tonight, you should tune in Monday nights, 7 o'clock here on the channel, Monday Night Nerd on Corp Cosplay's YouTube, and join the conversation. Like I said, we got a bunch of people in chat throwing out their thoughts. Let's jump into Hamilton Comic-Con, folks. This is my hometown con. This was my 10-year anniversary con, and overall 10 years of volunteering. I have been volunteering for 10 full years, and this was a big year for me. After a decade of volunteering and running across convention floors probably 2 to 3 to 4 times a year, I am now officially the lead of the autograph area volunteers. This was a position that became available a few months ago. I was messaged by the individual who runs the volunteers and said, "Do you want the position?" And I said, I would love it because I know what to do. Like, I've been doing this for a decade. It's definitely a different feel. There was definitely, because I've been there for 10 years, a lot of people know me. Like, they know my face. There are fans that come to the con that know me because I've worked lines so many times. So I get asked questions a lot. Like, people know that I'm pretty knowledgeable about things when it comes to these couple cons. And it felt like that, but it felt a little different. It definitely felt a little more authoritative, and not in a bad way, not like, but more like my decisions and what I say and do have consequences and have benefits. So that is definitely a different feel. You could usually fall back on, well, I'm just a volunteer, but it's like, no, you're in charge of a team now. And if you forget to tell them something, or you say something incorrectly and they go off and do something wrong, it falls on me. And I don't mind that authority. I actually kind of enjoy it, but it is a different feel. So this is my first time leading a group, and this is my 10th year at Hamilton Comic-Con. Let's go over quickly this con, because there are people that used to go to this con. There are people that have continuously gone to this con. And there are people who would never go to this con. And I understand why. I very much understand why. This con has its own niche. So this con has obviously been going over for a decade, because I've been volunteering for a decade, so I know it's definitely gone longer than that. This con used to be fairly wrestling themed. They used to have a very large wrestling reunion section of the con that was a lot of the late 80s, early 90s wrestlers. That has not really changed. That is not really the way it's been the past few years. This con has definitely gotten smaller over the years. It is held at the Hamilton Convention Center, downtown Hamilton, and it started there. And then around 2014, 15, I want to say, they moved up to the Warplane Heritage Museum up in the southern part of Hamilton, Mount Hope, if you want to be technical. And that was an interesting venue. I didn't hate it that much. It was definitely a very compact venue. It had its own feel to it, and I didn't mind it. the Warplane Heritage Museum is exactly what it is. It's a museum for warplanes, and they would always push those to one side, and they'd open a section of it up for the con. If you went to that con, you would get access to the warplanes, and you could do a tour and look around that, which, as someone who had a grandfather who was in the military, fought in World War II, loved Canadian warplanes and stuff like that, I had gone many times as a kid, so I liked it because it was a little bit of a nostalgia kick for me. After the past few years, however, they've come back to Hamilton Convention Center. The Hamilton Convention Center was built in 1981. It was renovated in 2013. And it shows. This is a con, this is a venue that has payphones still. There are 3 working payphones in this convention. And to show you the range of these payphones, there are some that are payphones. There are some that have the credit card debit payphones. It's an old venue. It is an old venue. And the past couple years that it's been there, I've definitely noticed the old venue. This year, I really noticed how old this venue is. Definitely throughout the day, it got very muggy in there, and it got very sticky and kind of gross. And it wasn't like Expo where it was packed and it was sticky and muggy because of people. It was just sticky and muggy because it was muggy. The food options at this venue, for those who hate Fan Expo, this is worse. And I'm sorry, it has nothing to do with the con. I want to stress this. This is the venue. This is not the convention. Could the convention bring stuff in? 100%. But this is on the venue. The food options were frozen pizza. And I don't have knowledge that it's frozen pizza, but it looked like frozen pizza. Hot dogs, pretzels, nachos. That's it. And by the way, can't bring outside food in. So, that's a problem. However, there are new renovations coming. If you were on... So, let's start from the beginning. They only used the first floor this year. This venue has 3 floors. The first floor was the main convention. The second floor is kind of a hallway area. It's not like a big giant floor. The third floor is another big floor. The second floor had photo ops, Q&A, and gaming. So if you didn't have any of those or didn't care about those, you didn't go to the second floor. However, when you took the escalators up to the second floor, there were posters on the walls, framed posters, that said on every single one, renovations coming soon, or just coming soon. And it showed what the venue will look like. So I'm assuming that because the Oakwood Group, I believe they're called, are renovating the TD Coliseum, Cops Coliseum, and that will be finished shortly because stuff starts going there in a month or two. They're then going to be doing Hamilton Place. I would not be surprised if that's the same group that's going to be renovating this. So, based off that guess, I'm thinking next year these guys are going to go back to the Airplane Heritage Museum, or there's going to be a completely different venue based off that, because I'm thinking, or there's going to be one more year and then they'll do the full renovation, because I'm thinking each venue is going to be at least a year. Coliseum was a year, Hamilton Place will be a year, Convention Center will be a year. My guess. I don't know. I personally have always said we should do a Comic-Con at a hockey arena, have all the vendors and stuff on the floor, have all the Q&As and panels and stuff upstairs. I've always thought that'd be a dope look for a con. Just a thought. Andre said better renovate the menu. Yeah, Yeah, I know that out of everything this weekend, that was the thing I heard the most from everybody. Was the words that I heard sadly over the entire weekend were, don't eat the pizza. Thankfully, I have a sensitive stomach anyways. I wasn't going to eat it no matter what. As with every time I do a review, we're going to go over my day by day to give you an idea. This, again, is a different type of con for me and a different way of doing it because I used to be on a specific line. So if I was working, let's say, Ernie Hudson's line, I would be at the front of Ernie Hudson's line. I would get the chance to interact with many, many people. I would have a chance to possibly talk to Ernie Hudson. I'd have a chance to talk with the handlers. There was a lot of personal interactions that would happen with many different people, and many different conversations and things would erupt. That does not happen in this role. This role is kind of what I like to call a 5,000 feet level, where I am watching over a lot of different people. So, with that in mind, had to get there at 9 a.m. before the con started. VIPs were allowed in early at 9:30. The con started officially at 10. We had a very small team, which happens every single year at this con. This is not a very popular con. As I said earlier, there are definitely people who do not like this con, do not like the city of Hamilton, because it's got a reputation. And I'm not going to sit here and say it doesn't have a reputation, and that reputation is not warranted. I get it. I live here my whole life. I've seen every side of this city. So it is always going to be a small team of volunteers, and it's always going to be the problem of they're going to have 20 people apply, and then the day comes and 10 of them duck out and don't show because of various reasons, whether they call in and say, my dog ate my homework, or what. It happens. So we only had a small team this year, which means every person should be working a single line. But because we knew this con was going to be a little slower based off who the guests were, we had everybody at least working 2 to 3 lines per person, which is not ideal. But sometimes you have to do that. There were definitely guests that needed more help than others. Ernie Hudson was the star of the weekend. He is the former Ghostbuster, well, current Ghostbuster technically. I know him best from The Crow as Officer Albright. So it was definitely having a very small group of people try and take care of many people. Boomster Joe said, wow, so you had a team of only 10. Yes, I had a team of about 10 people. And we had probably 22, 23, 24 guests. It was a lot. It was to the point that there were guests who did not have a volunteer to help them. And we thankfully had a little bit of background. If a guest shows up and they bring someone with them, say it's a family member, an agent, or something like that, that person will take care of the money and stuff. And that means the handler group, which is the people who sit next to the celebrities that the con brings in, they're not needed. So thankfully, there was a couple guests that brought their own people, that we had extra handlers. And thankfully, one of them, who used to be in chat and is not in tonight because he is on vacation, Alex, helped on one of the lines. And that was just based off necessity. I knew we needed a couple extra people on Ernie Hudson's line because it's Ernie Hudson. He always does amazing. He hasn't been in the area for a few years. I want to say the last time he was here was about 6-7 years ago, if not longer. So I knew he would be packed. We had the Dazed and Confused crowd, which I'm glad they did, because I heard a lot of people were very excited to meet them, and I was excited to meet them as well. But it was it's a niche. It's a very, very fine, specific crowd that likes those people. It's not a grand, broad audience like, say, the Ghostbusters that has gone through generations, or wrestlers that have gone through generations where, dads will bring their kids and stuff like that. It's kind of just people who grew up with the movie. So they were a little slower, and the Sons of Anarchy people, for some reason, I still don't understand, are always busy. And not busy, but steady. They're at every single con in the area, and we were to the point that we're going to give Kim Coates a volunteer shirt so he can help with his own line, because he's pretty much family at this point. He's been here so many times, but the guy always does good because he's actually a very incredible guy. He is one of the few celebrities who will give you the shirt off his back if he could, because that's just how cool he is. Boomster Joe says, what qualities do you look for in volunteers who are assigned to work directly with the celebrities? Well, if you are new to volunteering, you may not specifically go with the celebrities. There are many positions at the con that we'll need volunteers for. Ticketing at the front, volunteers for celebrities, obviously. We have runners who need to go get stuff for celebrities. We have people who work the Q&A stage and make sure everything runs there. There's a bunch of different places no matter what. The celebrity area is kind of the one that everyone wants to work in, because you're hanging with the celebrities, kind of, and you're not actually hanging with the celebrities. And this is something I always stress when I am when I see new people in the group, or especially this weekend when I was the lead. Just because you're working in this area does not mean you get to talk to the celebrities and chit-chat with them the entire day. You are technically working, and your job is to make sure the lines and everything run smoothly. If you overstep those bounds to a certain degree, you will probably be not asked back. We have run into on several occasions, and not this con, but every con I've been to at some point, somebody will sit there and talk with a celebrity for way too long. And I'm not saying you can't talk to a celebrity. They're probably going to get bored at some point and not have a fan, and maybe want to, let's chit chat and what do you do and da-da-da-da-da. That happens. It's happened to me 1,000 times. It happened to me this weekend. But there's a limit. There's a limit to how much you can talk to them before it becomes the point of they are wanting to do something else and you've just overstayed your time, or you just maybe share too much, which we've run into in the past. So I always tell everybody, apply. Do not think that you're going to always get with the autograph team, but if you show enough understanding of, I got a good head on my shoulders, I'm cool with working multiple days, stuff like that, you may get pushed onto that team, because we need a lot of good, competent people who know what they're doing and we can trust. Because as I said to my team this weekend, if I don't have to worry about you, you've won. That is my ultimate. My ultimate team is, I can tell you at the beginning, no, this is going to happen, and then I can walk away, and I don't have to stand over and watch over your shoulder and make sure you're not doing something stupid. So yeah, Ernie Hudson was the biggest of the weekend. He was, I wouldn't say swamped, but he was busy. He was full. He was rocking it, having a great time. I got to chat with him at the end. He is 79, by the way. He is 79 years old. Go check out a photo of him. And I saw him this weekend with a short sleeve shirt on. Dude is jacked. At 70, and he's not 79 like I just turned. He's 80 in 2 months. He is doing well. So very happy to be there. Very nice to chat with him. Like I said, last time he was here, I got a quick second to talk to him, but I had a few seconds more. Just, happy birthday. Happy early birthday. You're looking good. Glad to see you still with the Ghostbusters team. And he was having an absolute blast. Someone that I stupidly did not think would be as busy as she was, Veronica Taylor. the voice of Ash from Pokemon was busy. And she was killing it this weekend. Veronica Taylor is at many of the cons in the area, but she is kind of the voice actor for Pokemon. And the way they laid out the autograph area this year, I think they might tweak next year. They had 2 rows of autographs, so the autograph people were here, all the guests and stuff were in the middle. However, on this side, which was the rest of the con, they had on the other side of the banner another set of celebrities that were the other side of that little gap was vendors. Veronica was on that side, and Veronica's line got kind of out of control on Saturday. She was getting a line that was really pushing into that vendor, and I made sure to apologize for that and say we are going to fix that, to the point that the next day on the Sunday, we had some celebrities leave on the open side, so we moved her to the other side of the con, to make the other side of the autograph area, to make things easier for her, and she was more than excited to do that because, yeah, she is someone that we love because she loves talking to the audience, she loves interacting with people, but she also stands out front of her table, which is great because she can interact with people, but that means the line that we usually have a little bit of space in the front of the line has to be pushed back a little further because we want a little bit of air and not have every fan like right up in their grill when they're talking. So we did have to move them, which was not a big deal, but just interesting. Boomster, yes, that's why we moved her on Sunday, because we wanted to give her a little bit of freedom, and she was super excited to have that. As I said, Sons of Anarchy guys, they were just amazing. They're always a blast. They're a hoot. They love their fans. Wrestlers didn't really do that great this year, and I don't know that based off numbers. I just remember seeing how many people were over there. Harvey Whippleman was one of them. The Brooklyn Brawler was one of them. The Killer Bees. Not the 90s generation of wrestling fan, more of the 80s generation of wrestling fan, which the 80s wrestling fans are getting smaller and smaller because of age. So they didn't have a great turnout this year for the wrestlers, which is odd because, as I said earlier, this used to be the big wrestling convention in the area. But they didn't do that. I shouldn't say they didn't do that great. Based off the amount of people in their lines, there wasn't a lot. So whatever that means. It was a busy Saturday, as it is at every single convention you ever go to, but it wasn't too crazy. It was a good day. Didn't have to put out any fires, which was nice. A lot of just supervising and making sure everything was good. Boomster Joe said the Power Rangers had a very cool exhibit. Yeah, those guys were at, they first came by at Niagara Falls. They were behind Amy Jo Johnson's line. She had her pink suit from the movie there, and then they brought the rest of it for this one. Actually, I had a chance to talk to them, the gentleman who owns those props, on the Sunday, and we were yakking about some stuff. He's going to be, they're going to be bringing some props to Frightmare in the Falls in October, the horror con in Niagara Falls. They're going to be bringing some props there, so I'm going to run by and yak with him for a bit, because I checked him out on Instagram. He has some pretty dope props, and I like his props because they're not obvious ones. I like little weird stuff, like he's got a scorpion from Mummy Returns, a prop use scorpion. I'm like, that's kind of cool, like little weird things like that. So yeah, he's trying to build his collection, and yeah, he's very happy to show off that stuff. So yeah, I got a feeling we're going to see more of his stuff in the coming years because he's building his collection even bigger. But yeah, Saturday, just busy getting through the lines. Ernie Hudson was only there that day, which was kind of nice because we didn't have to deal with 2 days of it. But everyone super excited, super happy. And then Saturday night, we just sat back with a bunch of friends and had a nice dinner at the Electric Diner just around the corner from the con. Celebrated one of the handlers' birthdays, a friend of ours named Kevin. And yeah, we just kicked back and then came back here, and I had a friend staying here for the weekend and crashed and probably had one of the best sleeps I've had in a while. I was so bloody tired. And then Sunday, woke up bright and early because we had to be back at 9 o'clock to kick things off again. We moved Veronica Taylor that morning, on Sunday morning. That was the first big thing we had to do. We also had to get Mr. Doug Gilmore, his setup ready for his appearance at 11 o'clock. Doug was at Niagara Falls last June or the year before. Year before. He was at Niagara Falls 2024. So I had a feeling he'd be a little slower than he was at Niagara Falls because everybody in the area kind of went to that one. But he still did well from what I saw. I had a chance to walk up and have a quick chat with him, which was really cool. This is the second time I've had a chance to have a conversation with him. And the first time, my mom actually grew up, while I was growing up, Doug was her player. So I got an autograph of Doug for my mom for Christmas. And I kind of lied when I met him. I was like, I'm a big Leaf fan and it's because of my mom. I'm not a Leaf fan. I'm a Bruin. So this year I went, all right, I don't need an autograph. I can be honest with him. And I shook his hand and we got a quick photo. And I said, I got to say, Doug, my mom would always tell me how great of a player you are. And I totally agree. You, Wendell, Matt, all you guys were great. But I grew up a Bruin. And he goes, I'll be honest, I grew up a Bruin too. And I'm like, no. He goes, yeah. He goes, I grew up a Bruin. He goes, I'm a Cherry fan and I'm a Bobby fan. I'm like, oh yeah, I guess so. I said, I guess all you guys kind of looked up to Bobby Orr. He's like, yeah, we all kind of loved him. And he goes, then I'm in the area that's all Bruins fans. I was like, oh yeah, I guess. And he just grew up, I think, just outside of London. So he's like, yeah, that's all Bruins fans there at the time. And I was like, ah. And then I messaged my mom later. I'm like, he grew up a Bruin fan too. Ha ha ha. But yeah, Doug's always a great guy. He was having a lot of fun. His family was there, and they were all kicking back and enjoying themselves. They were next to Kim Coates, and I believe him and Kim have talked a bunch, so they were having a lot of conversations together. Then I got to have a really fun moment. I am a big Power Rangers fan. That is my childhood in a nutshell. I grew up, as a kid, little kid, and then Ninja Turtles was it. And then when Power Rangers hit, it was Power Rangers all the way up until I became a wrestling fan. And then wrestling took over until I was like 30. So meeting the Power Rangers through volunteering has always been a blast. And one of my favorite memories of Hamilton Comic-Con was working with Jason David Frank, who was my childhood icon. And one of the sweetest guys I've ever met. I've told the story on the podcast many times. I have an art print on the other side that a fan gave to him while I was working his line, and it was framed and everything, and he absolutely adored it. But after the con was over, he realized, I can't take this home. It's too big. And he asked me to hold on to it. He said, I don't say anything in public. Just please hold on to this. I don't want the fan to feel like I don't appreciate it. And he signed it for me, and I've had it ever since. And I only bring that story up now because Jason is unfortunately no longer with us. But since I've become older, I have had the opportunity to pick up many of the toys that I wanted when I was a kid, and that was the Dragon Dagger, Saba, and the Morpher. I had a childhood Morpher, but now I have the Tommy Oliver Morpher. And the only thing I was missing is the communicator. And when I walked by Karen Ashley, the Yellow Ranger from the Power Ranger movie, I walked past her booth. She was selling communicators. And I went, holy crap. I have never, ever seen a communicator in person. I can't even think I've seen the Legacy Collection ones at a con. And she had all of them. She had every color. And I went, well, how would 7-8-year-old me feel right now? He'd really want it. And my wife and I have a rule in the house. It's not a rule. It's just a guide of, would you rather have the item or would you rather have the money? And I sat there for about 3 seconds and went, I'd rather have the item because the item is going to finish that collection of Jason David Frank. So I went up and I purchased the white communicator. Now, that does not make the beeps or anything, but it is a metal communicator. And I am very happy to have it. And I actually have a photo, which I will be posting along with others on my social media in the next couple days, of Karen Ashley putting the communicator on my wrist. So I've told everybody, I'm like, I think this officially makes me a Power Ranger, because I mean, I have a communicator from a Power Ranger, and she put it on my wrist. That I think that counts. So it was really cool meeting her. I met her before, but I never really had a chance to actually sit down and talk to her. And she's amazing. And Steve Cardenas, I believe his last name is. Rocky from the Power Rangers franchise. He was there too. Again, super sweet. They kicked back and we yacked about, Power Rangers and life and all that. So yeah, it was kind of cool, kind of making that full circle. I have the full collection now. I want to make a shadow box somewhere in my house, and my wife has been like, I know how much that means to you. We'll figure it out. The problem is Saba is so wide that traditional shadow boxes just don't fit. I've picked up the biggest one and the deepest one from Michael's, and it just doesn't work. So I got to figure out a way to do it, because I do want to show those pieces off. But yeah, met them, was very happy to chat with them, had a quick conversation with the two individuals from the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Jeffrey and the sister, not Ashley, the other one. I can never remember her name. Had a quick conversation with them, didn't really get a chance because they were really busy. And then went over and had a talk with one of the handlers who I am friends with. She is also a local Hamilton, which actually is a quick reminder. Mental note, I need to work on something for her. But she was working with Joey Lauren Adams. Hillary, thank you, Keith. She was working with Joey Lauren Adams from not only Dazed and Confused, but Chasing Amy. And I'm a big Kevin Smith fan, so getting a chance to sit down and have a quick conversation with her was really freaking cool, because yeah, she's super sweet, and she had a whole bunch of Kevin Smith stuff, the movie posters to sign, so it was really cool kind of chatting with her about life and working with Kevin and all that. And she's adorable, and then we kind of had a little running joke till the end of the day that if you've never gone to Comic-Con, or if you have gone to Comic-Con, you kind of know the time might say 5 o'clock on a Sunday, but 95% of the con will end earlier because celebrities have to catch flights home. People want to don't want to hit traffic when they leave. So I always say, if the con ends at 5, back up 2 hours, and that's when the con will probably start to dissipate and start to end. So if you need to get anything, get it done 2 hours before closing time. But we kind of had a joke. We're like, who is going to be the last celebrity here? Who is going to outwin? Who's going to outstay all of them? And we all kind of agreed it was probably going to be Veronica Taylor. Veronica Taylor was there till about 5:15. She just kept going. She had a lot of people coming up at the last minute getting Pokemon cards signed, and she was just an absolute dream. I'm like, I'd love to help you finish and pack up, but we got to get going. We're literally tearing the con down. But yeah, overall, all the celebrities were absolutely great. There were no flyers that I really had to deal with or heard about. The team was great. Like I said, there was nobody on the team that I really had to worry about, that I had to, keep an eye on. I hope I get to see a bunch of them at Frightmare in the Falls, because I will be going to Frightmare in the Falls. Will I be leading that team in Frightmare in the Falls? I do not know. That is something I'm going to have to talk to a few people about over the next couple weeks to kind of figure out what they are needing, but I will definitely be there at least on the Saturday. Because David Arquette is going to be there, and I am a David Arquette fan from the amazing, I don't care what anyone says, Ready to Rumble, the WCW movie. Everybody probably knows him from Scream, but I don't care. I'm a Ready to Rumble fan. Boomster Joe, in what ways did the con improve? That is a very, very good question. I don't know if it did. I'm sorry to say that. Overall, this is a slow con. It is a slow convention and a small con. You know what? I'll take back what I said. I do appreciate the smaller con and the odd niche guests. I feel like cons like Fan Expo, I feel like cons like even it's the same for those who don't know. The people that do this con do Niagara Falls, they do Frightmare, and they do Nickel City in Buffalo. I do like the niche guests that they don't normally get at Niagara Falls. Like the Niagara Falls is becoming kind of a bigger con in the area, and if you don't like how big Fan Expo Canada can get, this is a nice alternative. It's a little smaller, but they still have some pretty high profile guests, Chevy Chase and such. Those don't come here, so it's nice kind of getting a little bit of a more diverse character. Like, again, I'm not a giant Dazed and Confused fan, but I get to meet Joey Lauren Adams, which was cool, and I know a lot of people were excited to meet Ernie Hudson, and the Sons of Anarchy does amazing. So I know people have issues with this con, and again, as I said earlier, I understand. I'm not going to turn a blind eye and be like, oh, I don't get it. I get it. I hope if it's not next year, the year after, we figure out a new venue. I'm assuming, based on what I know from my life in marketing and my life ever working on events and stuff, they've probably signed a contract for X number of years. Whether that ends this year, whether it ends next year, I don't know based off the renovations, but I know that they are always, they like this venue. I just don't know if this venue is going to be available next year. So I know the venue needs to be switched at some point over the next little while. We'll see what happens for 2026 because, yeah, we don't know. Did you see any wholesome and heartwarming fan celebrity moments? You know what? I saw a bunch of kids. I did see a bunch of kids dressed up as Ghostbusters going up to see Ernie Hudson, and seeing the dads and the moms kind of going like, this is Ernie Hudson, like he's a Ghostbuster, and having those moments with them. Seeing the kids going up and meeting Veronica Taylor is still incredible. I mean, even my buddy Tom, who I've mentioned on the podcast, he was there with his wife and his boys. And his boy was there getting his Scholastics Pokemon book signed because he's a giant Pokemon fan. And I've heard that he had a great time meeting Veronica. So, you know, Veronica Taylor interacting with the kids, doing the Ash voice is always great. And especially seeing the kids kind of being shown who Ernie Hudson is and being dressed up in the Ghostbusters uniform, but not really understanding Ghostbusters at that point. I bet they've seen the movie, but just not having that impact that you knew the parents had from the movie is always a beautiful thing to see. Overall, what would I give this con? Honestly, I would give the con a 5 out of 10. I think it needs to improve somehow. I don't know if that's getting bigger, whether that's getting a new venue. I think the venue is kind of obvious that something needs to change in the next couple years. It is a fine con. Okay, Boomster Joe, you asked that. Any memorable cosplays? Sorry, sir. Any memorable cosplays, says the guy who was walking around in an Iron Man suit that he made a homemade Iron Man suit and is walking around. Yeah, you were the memorable cosplay of the weekend. Yeah, there was a couple. There was you, of course. There was 2 people dressed up as Emma Frost and Kitty Pryde that were really cool. I gave them a quick shout out because they were rocking it. My buddy Lynn, an old friend of mine, Lynn was working at the Cosplay for a Cause booth, who they said they did incredible. She was rocking the Eddie Munson cosplay on the Sunday, so it was cool seeing her back in cosplay. I don't think I've ever talked about Lynn on here. Lynn is an old friend of my dad's when I was a little kid. Lynn was like the cool chick when I was a kid. We would always hang out when I was little, and I always thought she was kind of a badass. She actually was the first person I met who cosplayed. She cosplayed way back in the day, and she hasn't done it since. So me and a couple other cosplayers that know her have kind of poked her a few bits and like, come on, let's get you back in this because I think you'd have a blast. So maybe, I think this is the first step. Maybe we'll get her back out here. But yeah, there's always at least a couple that stand out. Unfortunately, because I was running around, I didn't really get a chance to see a lot of cosplayers. But yeah, this was a fine con. I mean, Hamilton is, like I said, out of all the ones that they do, it's kind of the smallest. But it always holds a little bit of nostalgia for me because, as I said, this is kind of where I started my volunteering. And especially this being the 10-year anniversary and the first time being the lead was great. I can't, even if you want to put that as, rose-colored glasses, it's the truth with me. Like, I give it a 5 though. I understand why people don't go to this one. There's nothing I can say that is going to change their opinion on it. So hopefully they come back. Hopefully it grows. Hopefully it gets a new venue. We'll have to see for 2026. As of right now, I've heard nothing about what is happening next year. I will know when you all know. So when they announce it, I know their post yesterday, their thank you post said, look forward to 2026. So nothing about dates or anything like that. And I don't think they announced the dates right at the end last year. So we'll see. We are after an hour. We're at 8:02, folks. I greatly appreciate you guys tuning in. It means a lot that you are spending your Monday nights with me. Next week, it is not going to be a Comic-Con review show. After 2 back-to-back cons, I do not have a Comic-Con to go to this weekend, and I'm kind of okay with that because we still have cons to go. We have Frightmare in the Falls coming up. We have Niagara Games Con coming up, which I will be guesting at along with Pretty Nerdy Crystal, who is in chat, as well as the Freakish Workshop. We will be there along with... they announced a couple guests. I think one of the Power Rangers is going to be there from the newer series and a couple others. Go check them out. It's a really small con in St. Catharines, but it's actually a really fun con. If you're looking for video games and you don't want to pay out the wazoo for them, this is the con to go to because I picked up a bunch of good stuff last year for not bad prices. So Niagara Games Con. Niagara Falls Comic Con is coming up. I'm trying to think what else. Toronto Game Expo in the fall is coming up. I will probably be going at least on the Saturday for that. I have not been chosen as a guest. I don't think I will be because it looks like they've got a lineup already started, including Toronto's Peter Quill and a couple others. So I will definitely be going as a attendee. I'll just be purchasing a ticket and showing up in my cosplay with a couple friends. And I'm trying to think. That's kind of it for the year. I think we got 4 more cons for the end of the year. Next week on the show, we're going to be talking about one of my favorite franchises that I've been a fan of since I was a wee little lad, and that is Mortal Kombat. We're going to talk all about my love for Mortal Kombat, how it started, how it's evolved, and how it has changed over the years since the franchise has changed. I mean, I grew up with the original MK1, 2, 3, and Ultimate and Trilogy, and then we kind of went to 3D area, then we went to the PS2s, and now we're into the remakes, kind of, or the redos. So we're going to talk all about Mortal Kombat next week, and then a cosplay podcast, and then to round out the year, or round out the month, I should say, of October, we usually do a ranked for the Halloween episode. The first year we did the ranking of the Halloween movies. Last year we did the ranking of the Friday the 13th. And this year we're going to continue that trend with the other pillar of the horror genre, and that is we'll be ranking the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. So you can look forward to Mortal Kombat, cosplay stuff, and then Nightmare on Elm Street stuff. Folks, I mean, seriously, it's 8:04 on a Monday, and there's at least 9 of you here, if not more. Thank you. Seriously, thank you. If you can hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, it means a ton to me. I will let you guys go. I'll let you enjoy your evening. I'm going to go play some more Spider-Man because I just beat the game and I need to trophy a bit and get some more, get 100% on it and then play the DLC. Have a good night, folks. We'll talk soon, and stay tuned into my social media because I've got a bunch of posts coming up this week that I think you will be interested in. Talk to you soon. See ya. Hey, thanks for watching Monday Night Nerd. If you enjoyed this content, please hit the subscribe button, like this content, and follow on social media for even more nerdy fun. See you soon.